Okay, this is Civil War do-over part two. I got so excited about talking about the Civil War, which is was a wonderful thing. From if you're a Northerner, the lost cause, yeah, no shit. I forgot to tie that Civil War into the coming Civil War. So in that time, it was the industrial North versus the agricultural South. North, forward-looking, industrial; South, agriculture-based, hindbound, trying to preserve the past. Today, it's the diverse, inclusive, wealthy, and powerful and industrial blue states, the overwhelming majority of the population, the overwhelming majority of the wealth, the overwhelming majority of all that is good and right in America, versus the red states, the low population, flathead, low education, racist, xenophobic, red states longing for a white America that really never existed. Okay, in their mind it existed. It was a wonderful time in the 40s and 50s when Negroes knew their place and Hispanics were non-existent. And all those other immigrants coming from weird places like Somalia. We didn't even know where Somalia was on a map in those days. Well, now in a flat earth, flat in the sense that many nations are industrialized, many nations have nuclear weapons, many nations don't need to put up with American bullshit, the Pax America, USA, USA. You know what that leader of that little tiny North Korea says to USA, USA? His answer was to detonate a hydrogen bomb and a few more intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's how afraid he is of this paper tiger, bully lunatic Trump. He's terrified of Trump. We'll destroy you, Trump says in the United Nations. The rest of the countries of the United Nations are going, boy, I hope somebody's going to impeach this lunatic before he blows up the planet. Except the Russians and the Chinese, who were laughing their asses off, watching Trump destroy America and cede our leadership as the leader of the free world, ceding it to Germany of all places. So the Germany and Japan that we rebuilt after World War II, because we're the good guys. The Germans sent a delegation to Japan after Japan surrendered, and they told the Japanese, "Hey, these Americans are awesome. When they get up here, when they get in here and they get set up, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to ask you, what do you want them to do first, and so give them a list. We'll give you our list." But what you want them to do, what you want to ask them to do, is to rebuild all of your factories, rebuild all of your highways, rebuild all of your infrastructure, and then those brand new factories, you'll be able to outproduce them. And if you get rid of your class system like we did, and you unharness and you release the power of your people with things that you'll learn in American business schools, like treat your workers well, get their input, pay them a fair wage. Of course, those Germans and later those Japanese that came to America to get their MBAs, they didn't get invited to the professor's house after the classes. So they just learned theory. Of course, the professors, when they had the white students over to their houses, they said, that's all theory bullshit. What you really want to do is you want to fuck the workers, you want to destroy unions, and you want to rape and pillage and make all the money you can and become filthy rich. That's what they told the American business majors. The Japanese didn't hear that, so they went back to Japan and they said, hey, look, we'll have quality circles, we'll get rid of this imperial bullshit, we'll listen to our workers, we'll pay our managers not 100 times or 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times what we pay our workers, we'll pay them 5 times what we pay our workers. We'll pay the president of the company 100 times, not 10,000 times what we pay our workers. And they did that, and their productivity soared, and that's why they didn't have to drop bombs on us, they just dropped Toyotas and Nissans on us. And by the way, they bought Hawaii too. You can Google that. So, Civil War Part 2, once again, just like the first time, it's the future versus the past. It's the educated, the inclusive, the democratic versus the white, racist, yearning for the past when America was white, where white people could do whatever they wanted. Guess what, Whitey? white Anglo-Saxon Protestants have not been a majority since the early 1900s. That little gimmick that you did where you tried to convince people like me, second-generation Italian-American, you tried to convince Italians and Germans and Irish that they were white people. They still couldn't date your daughters. They can't live in your gated communities. But you created the myth of upward mobility, which has now been exploded as the Republican Party tries to destroy the middle class and encourage not their kids, but your kids, encourage you not to send your kids to college. It's a bad deal. They'll still send their kids to private schools, and they'll send their kids to college, but they want your kids to work dirt cheap, and because they don't want them being white-collar professionals. Bill Gates is the richest man in the world. Boy, that frosts the shit out of these white Anglo-Saxon Protestant lunatics. So we wanted to do a French Revolution where we drag all the rich out of their mansions and kill them. We'll just fight a civil war, and then after that civil war, we'll elect Democrats who will tax the shit out of the filthy rich, not until they're gone, but until, instead of controlling 80% of the wealth, maybe we'll let them keep 20% of the wealth, or 30%, even 30. What the hell, 30% of the wealth. Okay, the top 1%, we'll let them have 30%. The top 10%, we'll together in aggregate, we'll let them have, I don't know, 35%. The top 20%, we'll let them keep maybe 40% of the wealth, but they won't get to keep all of it like they do now. Okay, so that's socialism. Yeah, you bet. Get used to that word. You might have to get used to the word communism. Look up Karl Marx. He actually was a pretty smart guy. He couldn't anticipate some things that happened that forestalled the revolution, but the revolution is here. Peace out.